All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Hey, folks, how we doing tonight? This is Jay Mack here with you for the ASAP Sportsminute. But I am also joined by two of our great analysts here on the network. And down below me is Brandon from the Midwest, Herrera. Brandon, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Just got home. Normally I'm working, but today was the wife's birthday, so happy birthday to her. So I got home and thought I'd come and join you guys tonight.
We definitely appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And to the side of me, this side, the one, the only Ace from the West Coast. Ace, say what's up.
Yo, what is it tonight? How's everybody doing tonight? It's a great day. Even though my Wisconsin Badgers lost today, that's okay because we still have a great day of NFL tomorrow. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to NFL tomorrow. That's all I can say.
All right. So, yeah, like Ace said, we're going to jump into the NFL. But before we do that, and before we get to our first ad, I want to give a special shout out to someone tonight. Brandon, you said it's your wife's birthday. Well, she shares a birthday with a very special lady to us. Happy birthday, Mom. Put that out there. Good one for you. Obviously, we wouldn't be here without you, so it's super, super important to make sure we know it's your birthday. Anyway, let's go into the first ad for tonight on who do we got there, Nate? Pull her on up. It's Suzanne's Paparazzi. Hey, tell us about this fine jewelry.
So Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, you have what's called Suzanne's Bling. All products are lead and nickel free. She's got 24-hour shopping, 7 days a week available. You can go to www.paparazziaccessories.com, and the code on that is actually 160920. And I'll tell you, since everything is lead and nickel free, this is awesome stuff. We've had plenty of people go on and order this. And keep in mind, Christmas is coming up. So if you need some kind of jewelry, hey, Suzanne's Bling is the place to get it.
All right. And what else we got? Oh, let's see. We give away some T-shirts here. Hey, Brandon, I want to tell all the people out there, how do you get a T-shirt? How can you win this shirt?
Well, that's easy. You become Viewer of the Month. And how do you do that? You comment, you share, you like our shows. We'll tally them up at the end of the month, and we'll name a Viewer of the Month. So far, we've had two. Myself was the first one, and then I think Kendall, was the second one. So congratulations to him.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Ace, if they don't win this, what can they do? Can they get one of these if they don't win it?
So you can still get a shirt if you don't win it as the Viewer of the Month. That's okay. You can still get a shirt. If everybody remembers in the past, our shirts were $25 plus shipping and handling. However, we have fantastic news now. Our shirts are no longer $25 plus shipping and handling. They are now $14.99 plus shipping and handling. How does that sound? That is a fantastic deal. And guess what? When you order these, just think Christmas is coming up. You're looking at the ASAP network. You're like, you know what? This is a great place to follow and listen to sports. They have all great sports topics. Who would not want one of these shirts? Christmas is coming up. You need them all. And we will get your ASAP shirt to you ASAP.
All right.
So wait, Ace, did I hear you?
Well, gentlemen,
correctly?
shall we jump into the games?
Yes, you did, Brandon.
14? All right.
All right. So shall we jump into the NFL week to see what games are up for this?
Let's do it.
I'll tell you now before we do this. It's going to be a weird week because one of these games on here actually is moved to Tuesday, and there's actually a doubleheader on Monday. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's correct. So a couple of these are going to be wrong. We're going to go in the order that they're on, which is totally fine. So we can go with what they're on there. It looks like the first game is New Orleans and Atlanta. So, Brandon, who you got in this game and for what reasons?
I actually did year-end picks for the last 5 weeks. So I kind of did this a couple weeks ago, just kind of see how I do. I actually have Atlanta winning this one. And after how they played last week against the Raiders, if they do that again, and how the Saints played against Denver, I mean, if they play that way again, Atlanta's going to win this one for sure. So I got Atlanta taking this one.
All right. Ace, what do you think?
So you have the New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. We all know that Dan Quinn, at the beginning of the season, man, he had this team playing horrible. Everybody wanted to come out and play this Falcons team because everybody knew that this Atlanta Falcons team could not hold a lead. That had been their MO for so long. Everyone's like, hey, that's okay if they're beating us in the fourth quarter. We'll come back and beat them. But then what ended up happening? The Falcons ended up firing Dan Quinn. Raheem Morris took over as head coach. Then what happened once Raheem Morris took over at head coach? He now has this team playing lights out. Like, this team has been playing really, really good. Minus one game that Matt Ryan stunk up the joint. I'll tell you that. He stunk it up in one game. And then let's not forget at one point when Drew Brees had gotten hurt, everybody thought that Jameis Winston was going to actually be the starter. And then the Saints were like, no, we're going to go with Taysom Hill. Now, everybody was like, man, that's a bad decision. People still feel like it's a bad decision. But Taysom Hill is one of those guys that you can call a Swiss Army knife because he can do everything. Last week, he didn't throw the ball particularly well, but he was able to beat the Broncos with basically his legs. And that was pretty much all he needed. So with that being said, I think this is going to be a very, very good game. Atlanta ranks in the top 10 offensively with passing the ball. Now, the one key factor that I think the Falcons are going to need in this game is they're going to need to run the ball because that Saints defense is really good, but the Saints do not allow teams to run the ball against them. That is going to be a key thing. So with that being said, as much as I want to take the Falcons with that high-powered offense, I'm going to have to go with Taysom Hill and the New Orleans Saints. I believe they keep it rolling. And they're going to keep this momentum going until Drew Brees gets back, if Drew Brees comes back.
I mean, okay, you guys heard it there, and you heard what Ace had to say. I'll agree with you a little bit, Ace, on that. Yes, Taysom Hill won last week against the Broncos, but that was a Broncos team that started Kendall Hinton at quarterback, who was a practice squad wide receiver because they had no one else to start. So I don't really go too much into that game as far as them dominating that game, because if they hadn't dominated that game, that would have looked really, really bad for them, to be completely honest. So,
yes.
I'm taking Atlanta in this game. One simple reason.
Go ahead.
As a Packers fan, I need the Saints to lose. That's it. That's the reason why I'm taking Atlanta. So,
trust me, I get your reason for taking Atlanta. I completely understand. Trust me, I want Atlanta to win this game. But I'm just looking at the way that the New Orleans Saints are playing right now, and I don't know if the Atlanta Falcons are going to be able to beat them. New Orleans Saints right now are playing too good on defense. Yes, you can look at last week and say, yeah, they beat a Denver Broncos team with Tyler Hitton at quarterback, which let's keep in mind, he went 1 for 9 for 13 yards in that game and 2 interceptions. Now, in that whole first half in that game, it was like 60 yards passing in the whole first half. That whole first half in that game was horrible on the passing side. So I get where you're coming from with the whole you need the Falcons to win, but my gut's just telling me that the Saints are going to win this one as much as I want the Falcons to.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. So let's see. Game number 2 is – Nate, where's my cheat sheet here? There it is. Okay, so we got Detroit and Chicago.
Ooh.
I'm going to start with Ace because I really want to hear what he has to say.
So Detroit and Chicago, we all know with me being a Green Bay Packers fan, I don't like anybody in the NFC North. Everybody knows that. I don't like Chicago. I don't like the Lions. And I'll tell you what, I really don't like Minnesota. I'm sorry, Brandon Herrera. I understand you're a Vikings fan, but we all know it's a rivalry game. We can't do it. That's just something we can't do. So when I look at this game, the thing that gets me is I'm looking at Chicago. And I'm not really sure where they're going to be at quarterback-wise. Obviously, they're going to go with Mitch Trubisky because they feel like that gives them the better option to win. And rightfully, it probably does because one thing that Mitch Trubisky can do that Nick Foles can't is Mitch Trubisky can actually scramble and make plays. He's able to scramble. Nick Foles cannot. He cannot do that. Is Mitch Trubisky the most accurate quarterback? No. Does he make the best decisions? No. So I don't know where they're going to be quarterback-wise. I'm going to need to see a little bit more of Mitch Trubisky in this game. But going over to the Detroit side for a second, Detroit has a very, very underrated, and I mean deeply underrated quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Nobody gives Matthew Stafford any of the credit that this guy rightfully deserves. He deserves so much credit, which they put nothing around this guy. The best receivers he's had was Calvin Johnson, and he retired early because let's just say whenever the Lions get a decent player, they always retire early. I'm not sure if Kenny Golladay is playing in this game. He was questionable. I don't think he's playing. Last I heard, it's very, very questionable. So Mitch Trubisky is 6-0 with 106 quarterback rating in his career versus the Lions. Okay, Will, I understand where you're coming from with that, but there is a time to where quarterbacks are going to have a bad game against teams. And this year, I don't know if Mitch Trubisky in this game is going to step up and shine in this game like he would have in the past. So with that being said, I'm going to actually take the Detroit Lions in this game. I'm sorry, Will. I got to go with the Lions, brother.
And I'll go with the Lions, and it's only because they're the less of a threat to us in the division than the Bears are, and so that's why I'm going with the Lions. But again, I'll agree with you on your point of Matthew Stafford is a very underappreciated in this league. He is a generational quarterback, no doubt. And I didn't forget about you, Brandon. I see you down there giving me that eye like I'm going to get my time. I just have to make the Vikings fan wait. It's just my thing. But, I know you probably don't like either one of these teams either, to be completely honest. So at least the three of us can agree on one thing. We don't really care which team wins this game because neither of the three of us actually care about either one of these teams. So, Brandon, go ahead.
Well, you're right. I mean, being in the North, I mean, it is hard to root for teams that need to be rivalries. Bears need to lose to help the Vikings out for sure. But I think just because it's at Soldier Field, I'm going to go with the Bears in a close one against the Lions. Bears have always been tough at Soldier Field. I know there's no crowd, so it kind of evens it out. But I think the Bears are going to hold on to this game and win it.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Let's move on to the next game. There it is. So we got Cleveland and Tennessee. Now, Tennessee was supposed to be good this year. Cleveland it's kind of been maybe they were going to be good, maybe they weren't, because every year we think they're going to be good, they're not. But they happen. They're 8-3. Now, we can take that one way or the other. But Brandon, tell us, you got Tennessee or Cleveland. Who do you trust more at this point?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Who we trust more? I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee after what they did to the Colts last week. I mean, they took it to them and they kept going, and they probably got the MVP if it wasn't going to a quarterback this year in Henry. So I think Tennessee's gonna keep putting the pedal to the metal on these teams to keep ahead of the Colts. So I got Tennessee.
All right. I'll go with me next here. I have Tennessee as well for a lot of the same reasons you said, Brandon. The fact that I just, man, there's something about the Browns. I want to pick them. I do. I want to pick them. I want to see them get off that 17 straight years of not making the playoffs. But I think at this point, I just can't trust him yet. And I think it has a lot to do with Baker Mayfield. I just don't trust him down the stretch under pressure to make those plays yet in the NFL. And I hope he comes out and proves me wrong. I'm completely honest with that. I hope he does. Ace?
All right. So I'll start off with this. Will Polston, let me tell you this. I see your comment on the side when you're talking about that you feel like you're the only person in the world who's taking Cleveland in this game. Let me tell you this one. That is completely false. And I'll tell you why. Because this guy right here is actually taking the Cleveland Browns. And I'll tell you why I'm taking the Cleveland Browns right now. Is because when you look at the Cleveland Browns side of things, they have two, not one, but they have two running backs that could potentially run for over 1,000 yards this season. They have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. When these two guys play in the same game, they're 6-1. Because this running game, if you stop one, you still have the other. And how's this Tennessee defense going to stop either one of them? This Tennessee defense is a lot worse than people originally thought that they were going to be. I actually have Cleveland's defense as being a little bit better than Tennessee's. I trust their defense more. What's one person on Cleveland, though, that I don't trust? And that's Baker Mayfield. I don't trust him. I never have trusted him. But the way it's going right now, you don't have to trust Baker. You don't have to because of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. That's his one job, just manage the football game. And I truly believe that Baker Mayfield could just manage the game by handing the ball off to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt because Tennessee's defense is garbage. They're bad. I'm not taking anything away from Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry is probably the number one running back in football. I completely understand that. But you got the 1-2 punch in Cleveland. That's why I'm going with Cleveland.
All right. Okay. And let's move on to the next game. That would be Cincinnati and Miami. Now Miami, they're on their way up. I don't think anyone expected it this quickly. Now that they proved something at the end of last year after starting out so terribly, and then ending last year 4-4 in the last 8 games, they started turning some heads, and people were like, "Man, this team isn't as bad as we thought." I didn't see them at this point this season. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone saw them being this good this fast. Let's start with Ace. We'll get your pick, maybe a little bit of analysis on why.
Well, first of all, let's start on the side of Brian Flores. Brian Flores has to get some credit for what he's done with this Miami Dolphins team. He has taken them basically from nothing up to, hey, you know what? He's got them playing at a contender-style football right now. Do I think they're going to be able to win the AFC East? No, I don't, because I don't think that they're as good as Buffalo is. And right now, we don't even know who's going to be starting this game because Brian Flores hasn't even come out and said, is Fitzpatrick starting this game or is Tua starting? Because Tua is cleared to play, but they haven't said who's starting yet. But to me, it's not going to really matter. I think Miami's gonna win this game. I don't know how you could not go with Miami in this game. to be quite honest. Miami has the number 2 scoring defense and all of the NFL scoring. I'm not saying that they hold teams to a certain amount of yardage. That's fantastic, but it's the number 2 scoring defense. And I don't know. I'm really curious to see who Brian Flores is going to start. I think it'll be a game time. Honestly, I think it'll be a game time decision when he finally decides.
Yep. I have Miami, and I think for all those reasons as well. I think I can't root against them at this point just because they're they're just the underdog of the season to me. And I think that you're right, Trey. The Dolphins' D is real, and they're very real. They've given up 208 points this year. The only team that's given up less is the Steelers. And so 208 points, that's less than 20 points a game. It's around 18 points a game. So, I mean, that's a great defense. Brandon, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think you guys hit all the points possible. There was a comment up there Will had, if Burrow was in, he would take the Saints. I can see that, but again, you got the toughed out Miami defense. So, and Ace nailed it too. I think Miami's going to wait to make a game time decision on who's going to play quarterback, which is probably smart for them. So, I'm going to go with Miami. I think they got to keep going and keep improving. And like J-Mac said, I mean, who thought this team was going to come out this early and be this good with all the stuff all the trades and stuff they made the last couple seasons. So I did not see it, but I'm going with Miami.
So, J-Mac, if I can answer this question just really, really quick, the Will Polston one, because Will Polston had said they still play KC, New England, Las Vegas, and Buffalo. I'm looking at that schedule, and you're saying that they're not going to make the playoffs because of that schedule. Now, I don't see them beating KC, but I can see them beating New England. I can actually see them beating the Raiders, and I think it's going to be a very, very good game against Buffalo. So they're going to either go 2-2 or 3-1. That is my prediction right now. And with that, I truly believe that is going to be good enough to get in.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next game. And now this is where we'll get into a little bit of the changes. I don't have it in front of me on what games changed, so we're just going to keep going. I know this one didn't.
I got an updated schedule if you want.
Jacksonville and Minnesota. I think we all know where Brandon's going with this one. I do think. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here for a minute. And I just want to say we actually had a conversation. If anyone remembers Sportsminute from Wednesday, I went on a player spotlight on Fred Taylor, who played for Jacksonville and was a very, very good running back. They have another good running back this year who is a rookie and is actually up there for Rookie of the Year. Unfortunately, he plays in Jacksonville and he doesn't get the coverage he should. But James Robinson is a stud. He's third in the league in rushing right now with 890 yards as a rookie. That's pretty impressive. And I think their quarterback situation is a mess. I think their defense is a mess. So I don't think they're going to keep it close in Minnesota. And I hate to say I think Minnesota's going to win, but I think Minnesota's going to win. So, Brandon, we'll go to you.
Oh, okay.
Minnesota should win this game. I mean, but these are games that, as a Minnesota fan, are scary because sometimes they play down to their talent. I mean, look what they did last week and had to make a comeback drive to beat Carolina. That's another game that they should have easily handled. So Minnesota, I mean, I got them winning. They got to win pretty much out to sniff of the playoffs. But being at home against a team like that, and if they keep riding high, they should win this game. So I got Minnesota probably by 14.
Ace?
Let's start out with this. So we talk about how bad Jacksonville is. Yeah, Jacksonville's bad. They're a mess on the quarterback side because most weeks are like, who's starting? Is it Minshew? Is it Luton? Or is it Glennon? So right now it's Mike Glennon. Which, are you going to trust Glennon more? Or are you going to trust Kirk Cousins more? Obviously, I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins because I don't trust Mike Glennon at all. However, look at actually the one thing that I give Jacksonville credit for is over the last several weeks, they have not given up. They have come out and they have actually played pretty well. Think they played well against Green Bay. They played well against Cleveland. So this team, for being as bad as they are, they're not giving up. They're coming out and giving it everything they got every single week. But this week, again, it's still not going to matter. Minnesota's going to win, and it's basically because of Dalvin Cook. I don't think they're going to be able to slow down Dalvin Cook. That's going to be the deciding factor in this game. So I will go with Minnesota in this game also.
All right. And like I already said, I have Minnesota. So let's move on to the next game and see who else we got winning this week. This one is Las Vegas Raiders against the New York Jets. Yep, I read that right. It's the Jets. Yeah, we get to see the Jets come back this week. Yippee. The Raiders are going to win. Ace.
So this one took me a little bit of thinking. It took me just kidding. It took me all of about a minute, and then I was like, I'm going to go with Las Vegas Raiders in this one. As much as I want to say the Jets, because I said that the Jets were going to go 1-15. I said it. I said that they were going to get one win in there, but right now I don't know who the heck they're going to beat. Honestly, could this be that surprise week to where they come out and beat the Raiders? I doubt it. I mean, even though Josh Jacobs isn't playing, I still don't think that that's going to make a big factor in this game. We all know how horrible the New York Jets are. When your top running back is Frank Gore, now I'm not taking anything away from Frank Gore. We know how good Frank Gore has been over his whole career. But Father Time, man, Father Time. Father Time is Frank Gore. I'm going to say that. Father Time is Frank Gore. So I'm going to go with Las Vegas in this game.
Okay. Brandon.
Yeah, I believe the Jets are going to win one of these games. I think it's going to be Week 16, though. But, yeah, I don't see the Raiders losing 2 in a row, especially after the way they got handled last week. So I feel sorry for the Jets. I don't know how Gase and the ownership or the GM all have their jobs still. Yeah, I think the Raiders are going to come out and put a little whooping on them.
Okay.
So, but do you agree that the Jets are going to lose 43-6? I mean, honestly.
Who knows? I mean,
I don't think they're going to lose 43-6.
No, I don't see that big of a score happening, but, you know, who knows? I mean, it's the Jets. It could happen. But, again,
true story.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll be 42-6.
Let's move on to the next game.
Yep.
All right. Nate, pull up the screen. There you go.
We got Washington and Pittsburgh.
Woo.
I believe this game was moved to Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
This is one of the Monday night games. Well, I mean, we're going to pick it anyway. But Washington and Pittsburgh. So you have a Washington team that was in first place for about 8 hours, maybe 12 hours until the Giants won. At 4-7, they were in first place. And then you have Pittsburgh, who's 11-0, very overrated team at 11-0, in my opinion. So does the Washington football team, do they stand a chance in this game, Ace?
The Washington – so I'm going to tell you this. This is one game that Pittsburgh cannot overlook. Number one, because the pass defense of Washington is actually ranked number one in all of the NFL. I don't know how many people actually knew that, but they have the number one pass defense in the NFL. Antonio Gibson for the Redskins, the football team, the Washington football team, is no joke. He's starting to come into his own too. Look what he did last week. Well, it was Dallas. Let me just say that it was Dallas. I'll put that out there now, but it doesn't matter. He had a great game last week. Pittsburgh offensively, though, they have Juju Smith-Schuster, and then they have Claypool, which Claypool as a rookie has really stepped up. He's been impressive. Pittsburgh's defense is really, really good. Also, this one to me, I actually really had to think about because I really thought that Pittsburgh will probably win this game. But you know what? I flip-flopped. And then in the end, I actually decided to go with Washington. I think that it's going to be Pittsburgh's first loss. They're going to overlook Washington, and Washington's going to win this game.
All right. Brandon?
Yeah, it is a tough game. There's a couple good comments up there that, if Pittsburgh doesn't get the run game going, Washington could win. Pittsburgh has played down to their opponents this year. So, for me, I like Smith, and I think he's going to take Washington to the playoffs out of the East. But I don't know. If I could pick a tie, I would. But I think Pittsburgh's going to do it. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to who has the ball in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. I am picking Washington. I think Washington runs the table and they end this season at 9-7 and win the NFC East and go to the playoffs. You're to your first, and I'll eat crow and humble pie if that doesn't happen. But I think that their defense is legit. I think Alex Smith is good enough, and I think that Gibson in the backfield is just insane. So I think that they can definitely come and win this game and win out the rest of the year and finish at 9-7, and then make everyone not hate the NFC East so much. So it's going to happen. But the Cowboys are still in the NFC East. Let's remember that. Okay.
I agree with you. I agree with you with Washington winning the NFC East, man, but I don't think they're winning out.
All right. Next game, please.
They could win out. But I don't see it, though.
All right. We have Indianapolis and Houston. So Indy and Houston. I'll start with this one. It's tough. Houston's on their way up because they switched coaches, and that always seems to help a team. But I think Indy's going to be a little much for them. That Will Fuller's gone, so they don't have that deep threat per se. I'm going to take Indy, but I think it's going to be a close game. So, Ace.
Oh, man. I'm going to go with you on this one. The Colts actually this week, they actually get their sack leader and Autry back. So that's going to help them a lot in this game too. Houston's without Will Fuller. Will Fuller was a big part of that offense. I don't think – without Fuller, Watson has no one to throw – you know what? I agree with that, Trey. I completely agree with that. The only person that he has – to throw to now is QT and Cobb. That's pretty much it. Other than that, he doesn't have much because Stills is gone. So somebody's going to have to step up, but there's not going to be anybody that's going to be good enough to step up against this Colts defense. So I got to go with the Colts. And Jonathan Taylor is also back to this week for the Colts.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, I think we're going to make it a three-way vote here. You got to go with the Colts. They're going to look for some revenge, and they want to stay close to the Titans, so they got to win. So I'm going Colts.
All right. Well, it's a unanimous landslide decision there. You heard it first here. Indy takes it. Next game, please. Next game we have is the LA Rams against the Arizona Cardinals. Man, this NFC West, I'm telling you, every week you think, man, one of these teams is running away with it, and then they all lose, and then they beat up on each other. this division could come down to what team ends up beating the last team in the division. This is a tough game to pick. It really is. I'll take the Rams. I think the Rams are going to pull it out in the end, and just mainly because of their defense. Aaron Donald. We always talk about Aaron Donald, but we don't ever really talk about Jalen Ramsey. The guy's – he talks a lot. I know that. But he can back up his talk. So that's all I could say. Let's start with Brandon on this one. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, this West is kind of the opposite of the NFC East. You know, you got a bunch of good teams. If San Fran was healthy, they'd be right in the mix too. I think this whole division is going to come down who can beat or who can win more divisional games down the stretch here. So, with that being said, I'm going with the Rams. I think it'll be close. I think Dave put the score up there, 24-21. That's about where I see it, somewhere in that range there. So, I'm going with the Rams.
All right.
Man, this is another one of those games, man. This is another one of those NFC West games that really it could really go either way. That Arizona Cardinals, you got to think about one thing about this Arizona Cardinals team. This Arizona Cardinals team is what I call a Jekyll and Hyde team, because they can come out for like 3 weeks in a row and play really, really good and be like, wow, this team's scary. They can beat anybody. And then they come out and play 3 straight weeks and they play horrible. Now, the losing streak that they're currently on, just think, they could have almost lost like 5 in a row at this point. Like 5 straight. And that's that. And what helped was that miraculous Hail Mary from Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins. If they don't get that, they lose to Buffalo too. And then where are they sitting? They're sitting even worse. So this is going to be really, really tough, because you got to look at this Cardinals team that has potential to put up points going up against a very, very good defense in the LA Rams. But it's so hard to trust Goff. As Will says, it's Goffle. It's Goffle.
That's a good one. I like
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Do I agree? Yes. Jared Goff or Jared Goffle. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's good. But do you really think that he's worse than Gardner Minshew, Jake Luton, or Mike Glennon in Jacksonville? Do we really think he's worse than those 3 guys?
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying
I'm just saying Will said he was the worst quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think he's worse than those 3 guys. So I don't think that's entirely true, but I don't think he's very good.
No, but going back to the Cardinals for a second here is when you're talking about that's one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams. That's why the Cardinals can be such a scary team, because you don't know, is this the week that they're going to catch fire for 3 consecutive weeks? You just don't know. So that's why a team like this is scary. But with that being said, I am going to pick the LA Rams. I think the LA Rams actually win this game only because of the defensive side of the ball.
All right, thanks. And Will, if we can make that happen, brother, we'll do it. You'll see it right here on the live on the ASAP network. We're calling you out, Mr. Goff. Polson versus Goff boxing match for starting quarterback spot on the Rams. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, there you
Mr.
go.
Goff. Anyone that knows Mr. Goff, let's try to get this out there. Let's try to make it happen.
I will message Goff personally on Messenger. If I can find him, I will message him and be like, you know what? This guy named Will Polston that I know that is on our network, he wants you to come on Real Talk. He has some stuff to say to you.
Yeah.
He's
All
probably
right.
on Twitter. We could probably start hitting him up on Twitter.
Probably. All right. Next game, please. Oh, what do we got? We got the New York Giants against the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, man, do we have to? I got the Seahawks. I don't want them to win, but I think they're going to win, mainly because I don't want to hear Freddie Henderson talk about his Giants anymore. So, Ace, go ahead.
Are you forgetting, though, that the Giants' defense is actually decent? They've actually been playing decent as of late. But it's still not going to be good enough to beat Seattle, because Seattle's going to put up points in this game. And what is Will saying?
I'm sorry, that's what made me laugh.
Yeah,
he knows me.
Oh, I made a top 5 recently. Oh, okay, he knows me. Okay, that was funny. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Lord.
so going back to that for a second, yes, I'm taking Seattle, even though Seattle's defense is so bad. They're really, really bad, but Giants don't have enough offensively to be able to score enough against Seattle. So with that, I'm going to go Seattle.
All right, Brandon.
Yeah, I think I would get in trouble if I picked against Seattle by one of my uncles that lives out there. And I have no reason to not pick against them because they're playing the Giants, and who knows how the quarterback play is going to be. And you cannot go against Russell Wilson too many times. So, yep, Seattle's going to win this one pretty handily, I think.
All right. Next game, please.
Next game. There we go.
All right. Philadelphia and Green Bay. Well,
woo, buddy. I've been waiting.
This one, I'm thinking this one's about to be 2-1.
Woo!
Just looking at this, I'm going to make Brandon go first, though.
No, go ahead. Make me go first. I've said it before. I am pulling for the Packers to win it all because of a family member passing who was a big Packer fan. So I am going with the Packers behind Aaron Rodgers, behind Jones, behind whoever the receivers are that everybody claims that they don't have. And yeah, so I got the Packers winning, no doubt about that one.
All right.
Sir. Yes.
Go ahead, Ace.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Go, Pack, go. Let me tell you what. You know why? Let me tell you this. Because he's a bad man. That's why. Because he is a bad man. And this year he is playing lights out. He's out to prove a point. So obviously, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers in this game because right now, with the way he's looking, he's going to put up at least 4 touchdowns in this game, especially after the way he looked last week against Chicago. This is a man on a mission. That's pretty much all there is to say in this one. I don't think the Eagles are going to have enough firepower on offense to keep up with Green Bay. And, oh, man, Will Polston, fly, Eagles, fly. Yes, I know why you're saying that too, because you're a Chicago Bears fan. That's the same reason why Mess Around is saying it too. I could go on and on and on all night about this, but I'm not. I won't, just for that main reason that we have J-Mac left to go to. So I'm going to save some time for him, but go Pack, go, because it's all about that green and yellow, green and yellow, green and yellow. All right, there you go.
All right. I got the Packers. I don't think that's any surprise to anybody. For all those reasons and more. Actually, I got one more. Got my early Christmas present this week. I got a puppy, and his name is Favre. So, yes, how big of a diehard Green Bay fan I am, that's why. But they're going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be as much of a blowout as everyone thinks. And I think the only reason for that is the fact that we do struggle on run
in
defense.
the run game.
And I do think that they can run and get a few scores against us. But I do think we're going to win in the end. I just don't think it'll be as big a blowout as people think. Next game, please. New England and Los Angeles Chargers.
Pass.
I'm going to start with Ace on this one.
Oh, man, of course you're going to. Of course. I guess when it's New England and the Chargers, oh, man, that's actually tough. New England's defense is actually playing really, really well. But Justin Herbert, we all know what he's been doing all year. He's definitely looking like the rookie of the year. It's going to be a runaway now, especially with Burrow hurt. It's going to be Herbert now, obviously. I think the Chargers will put up enough points in this game to actually beat the Patriots, because let's look who's on the other side. It's Cam Newton, and he's been horrible this year. I mean, awful. And I know you can talk about who does he have to throw the ball to. I get that, and that's why I'm saying they're not going to have enough. They're not going to have enough to put up points to keep up with the Chargers. So with that being said, I'm taking the Chargers in this game.
Yeah. So there's three of us on the show right now, Mike. Yeah, right. 1, 2, 3. So if we had one more person down here in the corner on the show, we would have as many people on the show as Cam Newton has thrown touchdown passes this year in New England. So let's keep that in mind. 4. He's thrown 4 now in 11 full games. That's not good, by the way. I do believe that there are backup quarterbacks that have thrown more touchdowns this year than he has. So just a crazy stat to put out there, but I think the Chargers take this one too. I have faith in Justin Herbert, and I was his biggest naysayer coming out of college. I'm not going to lie. I said, this kid is not ready. He's not ready to play in the NFL. And I was the one that said it the most. Then he comes out the first game, and I'm like, all right, it's 1 game. Then 2 games, and I'm like, it's 2 games. Then it's like 3 or 4 games in, and I'm like, yep, okay. So I'm eating my crow on this one because this kid is legit. But Chargers. Brandon.
Yeah, I got to go along with you guys. I mean, Herbert wasn't really supposed to play this year due to an injury he got in, and he's just been lights out. The record doesn't show it, but he's putting up the numbers. If there's one guy that could probably game plan against Herbert and maybe have him have a bad game, would be Belichick, but I don't think the defense is there for him to do that this year. So. And Cam Newton, 4 touchdowns in 11 games. Yeah, that's time to hang it up, I think. So, but yeah, I'll go with the Chargers behind Vic's the man there.
All right, real quick, I got to read this post. This comment. Newton is a bum. I don't care who his receivers are, as Charles Barkley would say. And I'm going to try this. I've been working on it. Terrible. He's terrible. Terrible. All right. Next game, please. All right. In the Sunday night game,
oh my gosh,
we have Denver and Kansas City. Now, I do believe Denver has a quarterback going into this game.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that quarterback is Blake Bortles, if I'm not mistaken. And he's playing against Kansas City. Don't think anything else needs to be said. You'll find out when our power rankings come out at the end of the show.
Actually, Locke is playing, just to tell you. Locke is playing.
Okay, I mean, does it really matter? They're going against Kansas City. And I don't want to hear this crap about whatever, the Broncos. I mean, the Chiefs are on a roll. You're not gonna stop all of them. So the Chiefs, I'm taking the Chiefs. We'll start with Brandon.
Yeah, how many yards can Mahomes and Hill and the gang put up in the first half this week? I mean, I do got to take and give credit to Bortles, though, that he's admitting that it was their fault that they didn't have a quarterback this week, or the quarterback group. But it ain't gonna matter who's back there. Mahomes and them guys they're rolling solo. So I mean, they're top. They're gonna take it. Sorry, Nate.
All right. By the way, before we go to Ace, Tim Fiedler. Hey, thanks for tuning in, buddy. We appreciate it. You got yourself in the running for that T-shirt for this month. Well, the Broncos just lost with saying that. Yeah, probably. No doubt. Ace, go ahead.
So with Denver and Kansas City right now, yeah, obviously Kansas City's playing lights out. Drew Lock is going to be back this week after the whole COVID debacle and Denver not having a quarterback. So maybe why don't you go ahead and give me Denver and a loss against the Chiefs?
I was waiting for it. I was
So
like, there's no way.
So give me Denver and a loss against the Chiefs. Denver's not going to be able to put up enough points against the Chiefs.
By the way, you know what? Just for a second before we go to the last game, if
There's
Nate was,
actually 2 games left.
what?
There's 2 games left.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. There's 2 games left. Anyway,
Yeah.
Nate, I'm curious. You keep talking about Locke. You know that he came from the worst team in the SEC, right? In Missouri. And I'm not sure why that's supposed to make him such a good quarterback in the NFL, but I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the next game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lock.
It's a lock in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Buffalo and San Francisco.
I'll tell you, this might actually be a good game.
It's going to be a good game. Ace, go ahead and take it.
Yeah, so this might actually be a good game. San Francisco's starting to slowly get healthy. They're starting to get some guys back. We all know actually how good Buffalo actually is, though. Buffalo actually has a really good team. I believe that they're actually legit. Even though San Francisco is getting some people back, though, I still don't think it's going to be enough because Jimmy Garoppolo isn't back yet. George Kittle isn't back yet. And George Kittle is basically their biggest weapon they have. Besides Deebo Samuel, I'll tell you, Deebo Samuel has really been – he's been a stud. He's been looking really, really good. So I think San Francisco is going to keep it close, but in the end, Buffalo is going to be too much. So go ahead and give me Buffalo. And this one, that Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs connection is starting to look better and better every week. So
all right,
give me Buffalo.
Thanks. Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ace. Maybe if Jimmy G and Kittle were in there, might think a little differently. But, yeah, Buffalo, Allen and Diggs, you know, when the Vikings traded them there, I wish I had a decent pick to pick up Allen in the fantasy. But, yep, Buffalo.
All right. Thanks for that. And even Favre says Buffalo's going to win. So, and real quick, let's see a couple of comments to catch up on here. Tim Fiedler says, can guarantee the Broncos will complete more than one pass in this game. Yes, yeah. That's probably a guarantee where you can bet money on that one. Will Polston says, Josh Allen on the Pat McAfee show, 8 wins doesn't win you a division except in the NFC East. That's a pretty savage comment right there.
That is. That's
and
funny.
Buffalo, but the 49ers can't be slept on. I agree with that too, Will. So, all right, let's go to the last game.
We'll go up to the comment. Tim was saying about the Raiders are decent and beat the Chiefs.
They are decent. They did beat the Chiefs.
And I thought he was talking about I thought I misread it at first, but I thought it was about the Buffalo game. So my bad.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Dallas and Baltimore.
Oh my God!
Yes, and it's an actual game on the schedule.
Yes, we know it's an actual game. We know it is an actual game. The problem with this is that we know how bad Dallas is in the NFC East side. We know that. But on the other hand, Lamar Jackson isn't cleared to play yet. And even though Lamar Jackson isn't cleared to play yet, so let's go ahead and take this off the screen really quick. We know that Lamar Jackson is not cleared to play. And look what happened last week when Lamar Jackson did not play. RG3 started that game for him. And RG3 was horrible in that game. I mean, he was bad. He was replaced by Trace McSorley, which at this point in time, that's who would be starting because Lamar Jackson isn't cleared to come back, and RG3 is now on the COVID list, and now you're down to Trace McSorley. So I guess, if anything, if Trace McSorley is going to start his first career game in the NFL, I guess at least he gets to start against the Dallas Cowboys team that their defense is horrible. So I guess that's one positive to go about it. But I don't know if I could trust him because I don't know Trace McSorley. So I hate to say this, but I guess if anything, just based off of the running game, man, I hate to say it because Ezekiel Elliott hasn't been great this year. This one's tough, man, but I guess just give me Dallas. I don't know.
So you're like Will Polston on that one, taking Dallas for no good reason. Huh?
Yeah,
For some
I have no
reason?
idea. Just give me Dallas for some reason. I have no idea.
Okay, I mean that's a good a reason as any to take a team for sure.
Well, you don't know what you're getting with Trace McSorley. That's the thing.
I mean, it's true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, we're going to in just a second move to an overrated, underrated game that we're going to play here. Before we do that, I would like to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors here. We're going to bring up Misty Meadows. Talk about them for a second. They've been great for us. They're an Oregon-made store here, obviously in Oregon, duh. But they're here in Bandon, Oregon at 48053 Highway 101 South in Bandon, Oregon. 541-347-2575. They have shopping online. Everything is Oregon-made jams, hot sauces. They got all kinds of stuff in that. It looks like a little store, but it's huge inside, I'm telling you. And it's good stuff. So order from them. Go order online. Hit us up here if you need any more information. We'll be glad to get it to you. What do you think about that, Brandon?
What? Mr. Meadows?
Going to order some Oregon-made stuff?
Yeah, I actually looked
Misty
them up
Meadows.
and, I love jam, so I might be placing an order here soon. Maybe try to get by Christmas, but that might be too close for that. But yeah, definitely going to look into buying some. They had some jams that look pretty good.
All right. Okay, so we're going to go overrated, underrated. I'm going to turn things over to Ace for a second, and he can go overrated and underrated with who he thinks.
Yeah.
All right. Take it away, Ace.
All right. So as we know, last week I started this segment, which we call overrated, underrated, or just right. Or do we keep them at that just right thing because we're not quite sure? So this is one of my favorite segments that we do. And I actually kind of did a little bit of digging a little bit to be like, I wanted to throw some names out there that maybe people really wouldn't think about much. So I kind of changed it up just a little bit. There is a few in there that obviously people talk about a lot. So the first name that I'm going to throw out there, Brandon, I had to do it, brother. I had to do it. So the first name I'm throwing out there is Kirk Cousins. That's the first one I'm throwing out there. And Brandon, since you're the Vikings fan, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with you. And I'm going to say, is Kirk Cousins overrated, underrated, or is he just about right?
Can I pick all three? But for the money he's getting paid, he's vastly overrated. I to this day don't like the signing just because of the fact that the contract was guaranteed. Overall, God, I'm gonna go overrated. No matter what, he didn't do much in San Fran. I mean, he is putting up numbers here, and if he played more consistent, the Viking fans would want him around. So I'll go overrated.
All right, so J-Mac, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, is Kirk Cousins overrated, underrated, or is he just about right?
Oh, I would have told you when he played in Washington, when they were still the Redskins, now they're the Washington football team. I would have said he was a little underrated because he was playing behind RG3 and he came in and played good after them. But then he went to Minnesota. He became this so-called big shot that he thinks he is, that he's not. Now he's definitely overrated. Got a bunch of guaranteed money that really he didn't earn, in my opinion. So, overrated for sure.
It's kind of interesting with Kirk Cousins because when you look at Kirk Cousins, he's actually averaged 25-plus touchdowns every single season he started. Now, you would think it'd be like, that's a decent season in a way because it It is, but then you look at the aspect of the primetime games and the big-time games he gets to, and he just sucks up the place. So, to me, I'm definitely with you guys on this. Kirk Cousins, to me, is overrated. I don't think he can lead that team to the promised land. All right. So, our next one, the next quarterback that I'm throwing out there, I have two quarterbacks, and then we'll jump over to the running back side. So on our other quarterback that I'm going with tonight, I'm actually going to head over to Carolina, and I'm going to say Teddy Bridgewater. And on J-Mac, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. Teddy Bridgewater. Is Teddy Bridgewater overrated, underrated, or is he just about right?
Oh, I think he's just about right. I think for the amount of money that Carolina gave him, which compared to what other quarterbacks make really isn't much, that he's probably just about right. I think he's got Christian McCaffrey. He's got a couple other weapons there, Robbie Anderson. So I think he's just about where he should be. I think people read too much into let's not forget he had a traumatic injury. Like his knee was completely blown out, and he had to come back from that. And so coming back from that, I think he's right about where he's going to be. He's not going to be what he was in Minnesota. He's just not going to be that player anymore. So where he's at now, I think he's just about right.
All right, Brandon Herrera.
God, throw out another guy that fits home. I think I love Teddy Bridgewater. Me and my brother, and if he was on Facebook, would probably jump on and start reaming me. But I think Minnesota gave him too short of a leash and gave up on him too soon. But what he did with the Saints, got him a contract to start for Carolina, which I'm actually kind of surprised the Saints didn't re-sign him. I want to say he's probably just right, unsure. Let's get a good season under him, see how that injury is doing. I think he's just about right.
So I actually agree with you guys on that too, because Teddy Bridgewater is not a guy who's going to come out and get you 30-plus touchdowns every year. That's not who Teddy is. But he's at that just about right thing to where if you need him to come out and get you wins, he can do it. Look at what he did last year with the Saints when Drew Brees was hurt. He came in, he was able to win them games, and some of them were really, really important games and actually against some good teams. So he was able to hold it together. And no, the expectations for Teddy Bridgewater has not always been high. Nobody's always come out and said, oh, this guy's so good, he's an elite quarterback. So nobody's ever came out and said that. So there hasn't been that huge expectation where you can say, oh, this guy's overrated or underrated. So that's why I'm saying, I do agree. He's just about right. All right. So our next one, we're going to jump over to the running back side. And on our running back side of things, we're going to actually head over to Pittsburgh. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with James Conner. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Brandon Herrera on this one. Brandon Herrera, is James Conner overrated, underrated, or just about right?
Oh, God. Conner. I think he's about right. I mean, Pittsburgh's kind of an all-around good team with weapon-wise. So, I mean, he does enough. Just get him there. He could probably get him a win if needed. But yeah, I think he's probably a perfect piece in that offense there. So I'll say he's about right.
J-Mac.
I kind of agree with Will Polston on this. Look how Pittsburgh played without him. They didn't play very well when he wasn't playing. So I think he's underrated in that. And this is the problem with running backs. This is the problem with everyone rating running backs. They see guys like Christian McCaffrey. They see guys like Dalvin Cook. They see guys like Zeke Elliott in his first couple of years. They see all these numbers that they put up, right? And they're like, oh, well, my guy only averaged 75 rushing yards and 15 receiving yards through the season, so he sucks. Well, guess what? I'm here to tell you, it only takes 66.7 yards a game to get 1,000-yard rushing season, and that's hard enough to do by itself. So anything over that is gravy. So yeah, he's underrated, very underrated.
You know, I actually thought about this one too, because James Conner has not had a 1,000-yard season yet. He's come close, and he had 1 year he had 967 yards. He did have 13 touchdowns on that season. Now keep in mind that was the season when Le'Veon Bell actually held out on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they did not know what they had in James Conner, and he came in and played well. I think the only big knock on James Conner right now is the amount of injuries that James Conner tends to get. He can't stay healthy. He misses generally maybe 3 to 4 games every single year so far in his career. But I do agree that they tend to play better when James Conner is on the field. So in that aspect, I do have to say he is an underrated running back because they do play better with him. But his one knock would be that he can't stay healthy, and that people might look at his numbers and be like, he hasn't had 1,000 yards. So that's why people might tend to say he's overrated in that aspect, but he's not. He's an underrated running back. All right, so now we'll move on to the next one, which our next one, we're going to actually go over to the New Orleans Saints. Now, once I say that, people might think that I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara, but I am not. I'm actually going to go with the man that's behind Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with J-Mac. Latavius Murray, is he overrated, underrated, or is he just about right?
Underrated. You look at the games Alvin Kamara has missed. Murray comes in, he'll put up over 100 yards. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball. He's a great downhill running back. He's underrated. He could be a starter on most every other team in this league. Let's not forget that. So he's underrated.
All right, Brandon Herrera.
Yeah, I got to agree with J-Mac. I mean, yeah, he could probably start on any other team. I mean, Minnesota had him for a couple of years, and he filled in perfectly when Cook went down. And, he's doing the same over with the Saints. And, I'm surprised he went to the Saints after Minnesota. I thought for sure he'd go get that starting job somewhere. But, yeah, I think he's underrated. He's putting up stats when he gets that chance, and nobody's giving him credit for it.
Yeah, and I think what some people might forget is that actually when he started his career, he actually started his career with the Raiders. Yep. And when he started with the Raiders, he did have his only 1,000-yard season with the Raiders. So he has only had one, but that was when he was actually the starter. Then once he left the Raiders, he did go to Minnesota, and he still averaged over 500 yards a season with Minnesota as being a backup. And then he even went to New Orleans, and he's still a backup behind Alvin Kamara, and he's still averaging over 500 yards a season. So how can he not be an underrated guy? He puts up numbers every single year, being behind Alvin Kamara, which Alvin Kamara is kind of the workhorse over there in New Orleans. So you have to say this guy's completely underrated. All right, now we're going to jump to the wide receiver side. We're going to head over to Pittsburgh again, but this time we're going to hit on Juju Smith-Schuster. So Juju Smith-Schuster, Brandon Herrera, is Juju underrated, overrated, or is he just about right?
God, a couple years ago I would say he's probably underrated. Right now I'm thinking he's about right. I mean, like I said with Connor, they got a lot of weapons that are helping out all over the place. So it's not just one guy. Ben Roethlisberger can throw to multi guys. So I think right now Juju is about right where he should be.
All right, let's go with J-Mac. Looks like J-Mac's in the middle of something, so I'll go ahead and I'll touch on this one quick. So when it comes to Juju Smith-Schuster, the interesting thing that I can't get past with Juju is when you're a good receiver, it shouldn't really matter who's throwing you the ball. And I know, and I know you're going to look at last year and be like, yes, look at the quarterbacks he had last year after Big Ben went down. He had Devlin Hodges and he had Mason Rudolph, which we know what he had in them. And he could not put up any numbers with those two at quarterback at all, which kind of scared me a little bit because when you look at a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, he puts up numbers regardless of who's throwing him the ball. So I might get a flack on this one a little bit, but I tend to think that Juju Smith-Schuster's a tad bit overrated in a way. That's personally how I feel. Just a tad. I'm not saying way overrated. I'm just saying just a tad bit, not way, just a little bit.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, like you said, I mean, kind of scared you on who was throwing on the ball last year when Big Ben was down. So I get what you're saying. I could agree with that.
All right, so now heading over. Oh no, okay. So heading over to Miami here. There's one receiver on Miami because we all know that Miami doesn't have the best weapons, and we know that. But there's one receiver in Miami that in previous years has been talked about. Will he be traded? What will happen with them? And that is Devontae Parker. So now we're going to play this game with Devontae Parker. So Brandon, is Devontae Parker, is he overrated, underrated, or is Devontae Parker just about right? But before you answer that, Nate, can you please pull up the Will Polston comment, the final one on the screen? The problem is Ben isn't playing great, and I'm not sure if Juju should be, but I'm not sure how many people see him as an actual. Okay, here's the thing. When Antonio Brown was there, obviously Juju was not the number one receiver. Antonio Brown was that number one receiver. Juju had a fantastic year, but that was because Antonio Brown was the number one receiver on that team. So they had to focus on Antonio Brown. So obviously that opened up a lot of stuff for Juju on the other side. Then Antonio Brown left, and they're like, hey, now Juju's going to have to be that guy. But at the beginning, Juju wasn't showing that he could be that guy. And a lot of people were saying that he's the number one in Pittsburgh. But to me, he hasn't shown that he can be a number one in picks. He hasn't shown it. So that's why you're saying he's underrated, but I'm still sticking to that point of where he might be slightly overrated. I'm sorry. I just – all right. It's okay. So now, yes, we're going to jump to Devontae Parker. So, Brandon, go ahead and take it away.
So, Devontae Parker, like you said, has been in, almost every year he's in trade talks. And I don't know how much that gets to a player. But looking at the stats, I mean, last couple of years, I mean, even this year and last year, I should say, he's putting up decent numbers. And look who's throwing on the ball. Fitzmagic, and then Tua this year. Previous, Miami didn't know who their quarterback was, and he put up, okay numbers. So the way it's looking, I would say he's probably a little underrated. But if he stays there with Miami and they could solidify the quarterback spot, I could see him putting up some decent numbers coming down the road and starting to get into that about right rating. But for right now, I think he's going to be a little underrated.
You know what? I completely agree with you. Devontae Parker is completely underrated. And I think really people don't talk a lot about him because he plays in Miami. And Miami has been bad for so long that when people look at Miami, they go, they don't have anybody to throw to. Even when you mention Devontae Parker, a lot of people go, really? You're going to say that Devontae Parker's a weapon? Devontae Parker is a weapon. The dude has talent. He is good. But because he plays in Miami, nobody wants to look at Devontae Parker and think he's a good receiver. But he is a good receiver. He's so underrated. I don't know why people look at Devontae and doesn't think he's a good receiver. He's very, very talented. If he played on a different team, people would see him as a talented receiver. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Brandon, would you agree with that? If he played elsewhere, people would see him as a better, like people would look at Devontae and look at him and be like, yeah, this dude's a legit weapon.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, yeah. I mean, you put him with a solid quarterback and a decent running game. Yeah, he could probably be a solid number 2, possible number 1. I mean, putting up, Will put it just a comment ago. I mean, he could be a consistent 1,000-yard guy in the right system with the right quarterback and the right game plan. So, yeah, I agree with you guys.
Devontae Parker could be. You said that he could possibly be a number 1. Devontae Parker could be a number 1 on a lot of teams. He could be. There are quite a few teams, though, that still have their number 1. But when you look at he could be a number 1 on a lot of teams.
Yeah, and I actually like Will's comparison to Parker to Matthew Stafford. I mean, that's right. I mean, he is the Matthew Stafford of the wide receiver corps.
Well, yeah, because when you look at the fantasy side of things, Devontae Parker usually always goes in the later rounds, or people in general go, I'm not going to draft him because people are scared to draft him. But the thing is, then when they do pick him up off the waiver wires, they go, wow, this guy's getting me some points. Absolutely he is, because the dude's an underrated receiver.
Yeah, I've done that a couple years, picked him up and been like, wow, he's actually is pretty decent.
Yeah, he is. He's good. All right. Yeah. So now we're going to jump into the tight end side of things. And so with the tight end, we're going to actually stay in Miami, and we're going to actually go with Mike Gesicki, because a lot of people don't know who Mike Gesicki is. So Brandon Herrera, you go ahead and tell me, what do you think about Mike Gesicki?
Like you said, the tight end game has changed so much. There's only a handful of games. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it. I have no idea who this guy is.
Okay. See, that's the thing. And the thing is, I think when people look at Mike Gesicki, a lot of people don't know who Mike Gesicki is, again, because he plays on Miami. But Mike Gesicki is one of those underrated tight ends that all he does for Miami is score touchdowns. That's pretty much all. The dude is a red zone threat. That's what he does. He's not going to be a guy who's going to get you 70 to 75 catches a year. He's not going to do that. What he'll do is he'll average maybe 40 to 45 catches a year. He'll get you 450 to 500 yards, but his touchdowns are going to be on the higher end because that's what Mike Gesicki does. And so that's why I'm saying a lot of people don't know about him, but people need to, because he's a very underrated tight end.
Yeah, I just found the stats. 3 years in the league. His first year, wasn't much, but I mean, he's put up 570, 449 the last couple of years in yards, 5 touchdowns last year, 3 this year. Yeah, I mean, tight ends have pretty much come down to a red zone threat. We don't have an Antonio Gates or Gonzalez, Sharp. We don't have those tight ends anymore that they can stretch the field. It's pretty much you get them within inside the 10 is when the tight ends become a factor.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now our other tight end we're going to talk about, and I kind of have a little bit of an issue with this guy personally, but I'll get into that once I ask you. And the name I'm going to say is David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns, the tight end for the Cleveland Browns. What do you think of Njoku?
I want to hear what you got because, again, when it comes to tight ends, I mean, you don't really pay attention to them so much. So I will do a Freddie and pass to you, and, I want to get a rebuttal on this one. So you go ahead and tell me your problem.
Well, okay, so my problem with David Njoku, when you look at him, in college, the guy, it's like Will Polston was saying with Mike Gesicki, to where he was this athletic freak in college. And that's kind of what David Njoku was in college too. He actually came from the U. He came from Miami. And so he was actually drafted in the first round. And he was supposed to live up to that hype. And then when they looked at it, they're like, oh, they have Odell Beckham, they have Jarvis Landry, they have Nick Chubb, they have David Njoku. But now look, David Njoku, he's not even talked about. And he was supposed to be one of those completely athletic freaks, and he was supposed to help the Browns win games, game after game after game, just from the tight end position. But guess what? Hasn't lived up to that hype at all. So, yes, David Njoku is actually he's overrated as a tight end. He's been wanting to get traded from Cleveland for quite some time, and that is only because they actually went out and signed another tight end. Overrated guy is a bum. Yes, and that's what I was trying to say, Will. The guy was an athletic freak in college, but he didn't live up to anything. He hasn't done anything in Cleveland. And no, he should not have been selected in the first round. If you remember, Cleveland actually traded up in the first round. They actually made a trade with Green Bay to trade into the first round and draft him. And that was the year that Green Bay actually took Kevin King as their first pick in the second round. So I don't know what it is with David Njoku, why people are so high on this guy, but he just has not lived up to the hype. He's completely overrated. So Will, go ahead, your rebuttal on that.
No, I think you said just pulling up some stats, and I mean, it kind of looks like the guy might be a little injury prone. He played 4 games last year. He was playing in 8 of 11 games today or this year. I mean, yeah, they got Chubb and they got the other running back slipped my mind. They got the weapons, so you think he would fit right in, with his ability and stuff. But yeah, I can see where you're saying that, his game did transform into the NFL game, or just not with the Cleveland Browns. Maybe he could go somewhere else. But yeah,
He's not a tight end 1. He's just not. That's just not the type of person he is. He doesn't need to be a tight end 1 because he can't do it. All right.
Oh, you're exactly right.
So now our last group that we're going to talk about, we're going to actually hit on linebackers here.
Okay.
So the first linebacker we're going to talk about, we're going to actually jump to the New York Giants on this one, and we're going to actually talk about a guy by the name of Blake Martinez. So Blake Martinez, is he overrated, underrated, or just about right?
No, what can you say about the Giants? Anybody over there? I think, it's probably about right. I mean, you might still need a little, see their defense could become stronger and him making more plays. Yeah, I'll go with about right. I think he's right there.
Oh man, if there's any Giants fans watching, I'll tell you now, I'm gonna get blasted about this, and I'm telling you that right now because where did he come from? Yeah, where's Freddie at? Because I know the dude will blast me on this one for sure. Because where did he come from? He came from the Green Bay Packers. And let me tell you, I was actually really, really excited when we did not re-sign him. Now, I know he's been our leading tackler for pretty much every year he's been there. He's had 120-plus tackles almost every season. And you might look at that and be like, how can you not like that? Okay, here's why. The guy does not get any tackles for loss. He doesn't do that. He stands about maybe 3 yards behind and just waits for the running back to come to him when he doesn't even try and go in and fill the gaps or anything. He doesn't try. He doesn't try and tackle a running back behind the line. He doesn't try and do that. And then his coverage skills, don't even get me started on that. His coverage skills are complete trash. What I want people to do is I want people to go on YouTube and I want you to watch a video called The Overrated Blake Martinez and watch that video and you will see why he is overrated. And that is because he can't cover. Yeah, he tackles, but that's usually 5 or 10 yards downfield because he gets burnt every time. That's pretty much it, especially in coverage. Yeah, Martinez just keeps people in front of him. He doesn't do it. It's sometimes he doesn't even do that. And sometimes what he does is another linebacker would come up and get the initial hit, and then the running back would bounce off, and Martinez would come up and finally finish him off and get the tackle, and they give Martinez the tackle for it. So to me, I'm just saying, watch the video and you'll completely understand why Blake Martinez is one of those overrated linebackers that can't do anything else but tackle a guy that's just right there. That's all he can flat out do. He can't do anything else. He's not good for nothing else. So I'm glad the Giants gave him the money and not Green Bay.
Yeah, it's always nice to see people take away those trashy players.
Trust me, I was completely happy about that. Okay, so our next one, our last linebacker that we're going to talk about of the night is actually plays for the San Francisco 49ers, and his name is Fred Warner. So Fred Warner. So Brandon, is Fred Warner underrated, overrated, or just about right?
Oh, what can we say? God, I mean, just kind of quick looking here. I'd say he's kind of underrated. He's got some decent tackle numbers, and what kind of get me is possibly the sack numbers and the tackles for losses aren't really there. Just kind of like what you said about Martinez. So yeah, San Fran's had a decent defense over the years. But yeah, I think I'll go with underrated on this one.
I completely agree with you. Fred Warner is a completely underrated linebacker. As we know, the bad man in Aaron Rodgers came out after they played the 49ers and said Fred Warner's probably one of the best linebackers he has faced. And a lot of people don't know who Fred Warner is if you don't really pay attention to San Fran. Not a lot of people in the league come out and talk about Fred Warner. They don't. And Fred Warner's and I completely agree with Will. He's so criminally underrated. It's disgusting how criminally underrated this guy is. He's a top 5 linebacker without question. I mean, he does everything. He can cover. He gets tackles for losses. The only thing he really doesn't do is he doesn't get a lot of sacks because that's not what his focus is. Yeah. He does not blitz the quarter. That's not what his job is. His job is to cover. He will get he gets tackles for losses, which, hey, awesome. If he can do that, fantastic, which is what he does. Do you know, as a linebacker, the dude had 9 passes defense as a linebacker. Yep. And that can be hard. Like, the guy is criminally underrated, so I wish people would talk more about Fred Warner.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
All right. So, sorry, guys. My cam is having some issues here. So, now our last topic of the night that we're going to just touch on briefly here. That was it for overrated, underrated, or just about right. So, our next topic that we're going to actually talk about is we're going to talk about our top 5 power rankings as of right now, who we believe is in our top 5 power rankings. So, with that being said, Brandon Herrera, who is your top 5 right now in your power rankings?
Who? Right now? Oh, man. It's tough. I mean, just looking at the standings quick and, trying to recall some footage I've seen of, all the games. I know Steelers are 16-0, but I think the Chiefs are a better overall team than them. Yeah, they're 10-0 or 11-0. Steelers are. Chiefs are 10-2, I think. But I still got the Chiefs up there. I mean, those guys, it's like they're playing schoolyard football up there. And then I'll go with the Steelers. If the Titans would have won, I probably would have had them number 3. But I think I'm going to go with the Saints at number 3. I'm going to go with the Packers at number 4. And I'm going to go with the Colts at number 5.
Whew. So we're going to go ahead and bring up Nate here on the screen really quick. It will allow him to join this one because he has his top 5 power rankings too. So before I get to mine, let's see. Will has KC, Pitt, Green Bay, Seattle, and Tennessee. Your Brandon was an interesting choice when it comes to mine. I'll tell you what, I'm probably going to get blasted pretty hard because I think people are going to be shocked about what my top 5 power rankings are, but I'll tell you all why here pretty soon. So, Nate, what do you have as your top 5 power rankings?
I'm going to go 5 through 1. Seahawks at 5. Green Bay Packers at 4. Titans at 3. Steelers at 2. And Chiefs at 1.
Wow, so you actually have Tennessee at number 3.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, you have Tennessee at number 3, but that defense of Tennessee doesn't scare you?
That's why I'm not putting them at 1 or 2.
Wow. Hey, it's your power rankings, man.
Yep.
I completely it's cool, man. Now, I think what's going to shock you is my top 5 power rankings. You're going to be shocked on my top 5, and I'm going to tell you that now. And from what Nate said, Nate, I'm actually surprised there was one team that you left off the top 5 that I'm like, dude, how could you not have them on the top 5? So number 1, I'm going to actually start right now. Currently, the best team in the NFL currently is the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to have them at number 1 because number 1, they won the Super Bowl last year. They only have 1 loss so far this year. Patrick Mahomes, the entire offense is playing great. The defense is they're not like the best defense in the NFL, but as we've seen, they're good enough to win you a Super Bowl. And how can you not have them at number 1? I believe that they're better than Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh played them right now, the Chiefs would probably beat them. I truly believe that they probably would. All right, so
Will Polson said this guy was calling out the Real Talk for asking if they were a top 3 team, and then said that they were top 3 at 3.
Oh, yeah, Nate. So, yeah, that came to you. You called him out for saying that Tennessee was a top 3 team, and then you just put them at top 3. I don't understand.
I wasn't calling them out. I was just asking if you guys agree with that opinion. I wasn't saying that they're wrong, but by that reasoning, I was just asking.
All right. Well, anyway, so going away from that for a second, yes, Kansas City's number 1 currently. I have to see another team step up more to show me that they're better than KC, and right now I don't see it. Number 2, my number 2 actually in the NFL might actually surprise a lot of people. My number 2 right now is actually the New Orleans Saints. And the reason I put the New Orleans Saints in number 2 right now is Drew Brees is currently out, and they're going with a quarterback by Taysom Hill, which they didn't know what they were going to get in their quarterback in Taysom Hill, and yet they're still winning without Drew Brees with Taysom Hill at quarterback. And the Saints defense has only gotten better and better and better and better as the weeks have gone on. And once Brees gets back, if he comes back, I think that Saints team is going to be really, really scary. Their last loss was to Green Bay. That was their last loss. Ever since that, they have been hot. They've been a very hot team. So Will saying Saints don't make it until Brees gets back. Taysom Hill can't run that offense to success. Wins over bottom 5 D in Atlanta, and quarterbackless Denver isn't enough for me to buy in. And that's fine. That's fine. We will see how they're going to play this week again in Atlanta. We will see. And I get where you're coming from, Will, but right now I got to call it as I see it, and they're still winning games with the backup and a guy that's never started a game until now. So that's why I have to put him at number 2. My number 3, are you ready for this one? My number 3 is actually the Green Bay Packers. I actually put them at number 3, and that is only because how they're playing offensively right now. Yes, the one thing that does scare me is being able to stop the run. That's really the only thing that scares me about that. Other than that, I think that there should be about number 3. They have beaten the Saints. I would like to see what they could do against some other better teams. They have only played a few, what I would say, upper echelon teams, but I still have them at number 3. Now my number 4, now I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason why I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, oh, yeah, Ace is on the Steelers. Yeah, right there, number 4. I have them at number 4, and that is because, look, the one thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers, we all understand that they have a good defense. That is one thing that the Steelers are based upon right now. Their offense, I would say, is decent. Roethlisberger isn't having the best year by any means. He's not. He's having a decent year, but not fantastic year. So I don't know if they're going to be able to go point for point with a high-powered offense. That's my concern with the Steelers. If their defense has a bad game, are they going to be able to go point for point? I don't know. I really highly doubt that they actually can do that. And then my number 5 team might actually surprise you, but I put the Buffalo Bills in at number 5. Buffalo Bills, I feel like they are a true contender in the playoffs. I don't think they will make it to the Super Bowl. They won't do that. They might win a game in the first round. The defense is good. The offense is only getting better. They went out and got a Stephon Diggs, so the Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs connection's getting better. They have John Brown on the offensive side also. The one thing that they're lacking to me is the running game. So if they went out and got a running back next year, maybe via free agent trade or even draft, that might even be able to put this Buffalo team over the top. I'm actually pretty high on Buffalo. I only see things looking even better for Buffalo in the upcoming years. Josh Allen's going to get better and better as the time comes. And then my just right outside, because people might ask me how I cannot have Seattle in the top 5. Well, right now I would actually have Seattle at number 6. The only reason I would actually have Seattle at number 6 is because of how bad that defense is on Seattle. Seattle right now, they really can't stop a nosebleed. Like, to be honest, that defense is what worries me. If they end up playing against a really, really good defense in the playoffs and that offense is slowed down slightly, that defense can't stop anybody. And that's going to be a big problem. So that's why right now, I cannot put Seattle in my top 5. But it's close. It is close. So it was KC, Saints, Packers, Steelers, and Bills. That rounds out my top 5.
Yeah, I like your top 5 too. I mean, there ain't never no wrong or right answer. It's how we feel.
I just could not. I know Nate has Tennessee in the top 5. I just can't quite do it. I can't do it. And that's really only because if let's put this into perspective, if a team is able to stop Derrick Henry, do you trust Ryan Tannehill enough to win you a football game? Because I know people are saying since he came over to Tennessee, he has looked a lot better. But is that a product of Derrick Henry? Is it a product of the system? We don't know.
Yeah, I guess it would have to depend on what type of game we're in. I mean, if he's going against a powerful defense that's all around good, then no, I can't count on Tannehill to win me a game. But if Henry's getting stopped against the average team, then yeah, I could probably see Tannehill pulling through a victory for them. But yeah, I'm with you. It's hard to trust them though.
Well, yeah, and so I can go back to last year. And yes, Will, you're saying that they held Henry at 60-ish yards and Tannehill still beat Chicago. But Chicago doesn't really have that high-powered offense. So you have to look at that too.
All I really have in Chicago is Allen Robinson.
So if Tennessee plays a high-powered offensive team
on the
and they stop Derrick Henry, are you going to really be able to put the game in the hands of Tannehill to get you 30-plus points in a game if that team is shutting down Derrick Henry? And I don't think you can do that. I really don't think you can. Look at last year in the playoffs and the AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs. Tennessee started off really hot. They were up 14-0 in that game. And the problem was at the very beginning was that the Chiefs could not stop Derrick Henry. But then they ended up slowing him down. And once they slowed him down, point for point with Patrick Mahomes, they could not do it. He was not able to do it. So that's why I'm saying, if you stop Henry if a good team stops Henry and they have a high-powered offense, I just don't think Tannehill's going to be good enough to get you there. All right, so that is the end of the show. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to give Brandon, you got 30 seconds to say whatever it is you want to say. So go ahead and take it away.
All right, so going into this week of games, a lot of games mean a lot. There's a lot of teams that, if you lose it, you're probably going to see your playoff hopes go and bye-bye. I kind of hope my local team, the Vikings, keeps winning because that's what they need to do, and anybody ahead of them starts losing. So I will go with that for my final thoughts.
All right. And I want to thank Nate yet again, for being for being backstage here, pulling up all of our comments, and even pulling him on the screen at the last second to give his top 5 in the power rankings. So I want to say thank you for that. So Nate, do you have anything else? You have 30 seconds to say whatever it is you want to say.
Tomorrow is going to be a great day for the NFL. I am disappointed that BYU lost, and my third and final thing is that this is the last week for ASAP Fantasy. During the regular season, we still have the playoffs left to go.
Yeah, so don't forget, too, that since Nate is talking about fantasy, that this is our last regular season fantasy week for fantasy football. We do have playoffs, but then what happens next Friday? Next Friday, we have our NBA fantasy draft next Friday. So make sure that if you guys want to see our live NBA fantasy draft, that is going to be next Friday, and I'm sure you all are looking forward to that. And Will Polson actually said his final thoughts are that if Bears don't make the playoffs, there's no more Nagy. And you know what? I completely agree with you on that. Starting 5-1, and if you don't make the playoffs, woo, buddy. Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think there will be any more Nagy, especially with the defense they have, and then him flip-flopping with quarterbacks, man. I completely agree with you. I don't think he'll be back. I don't even think Allen Robinson will honestly be back on that team. I think you end up losing him and he goes elsewhere. All right. So thank you for watching our show. It's been a fantastic night, and everybody please enjoy NFL tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, don't forget, we have our pregame in the morning and then our postgame tomorrow night. And then after our postgame, we also have our Between the Ropes wrestling show. So hop on and watch that. Everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you next time.
All right.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the diamond in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays. Network. Whole sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.